Welcome back everyone to Master Game Design, Unreal Engine 5 Stylized Environment and Third Person Blueprint course. In the last lesson we left ourselves off with some nice boxes going for these type of setups. And now we're going to real quick talk about the overall design. As you can see, we have a roof over here. But whilst we were planning out the overall game design and the setup, we were thinking about the ending part, and we decided that we need a sort of an ending for this type of just overall game design. So what we ended up doing is basically changing up the idea for where like the weapon should be, and it's going to be on this roof over here. So basically, for that reason, we're changing it up a little bit. We're going to click one, for example, to see the silhouette on how this overall looks like roof, but it's quite all right for the overall design. If it looks nice from your predetermined type of angles, I think it's okay to be changing around, especially to make it more fitting for the design of a game. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to grab ourselves a nice roof, and within extra props, we got ourselves this catapult over here. So we're just going to grab this. We're going to hold Alt, move it to the back a little bit, and we might grab this roof. I quite like this roof. It looks quite nice. Let me just go ahead and place this on top of one another, just like that. And I'm going to actually increase the grid lock, since otherwise it will look a little bit too fast. Too unrestrained. So there you go. We got ourselves a roof and a catapult. We're just going to move it all the way to the very end, like so. And then we're going to start basically populating ourselves with those extra grids. So what I mean by that is like adding windows and extra detail like that. Anyways, we're going to go ahead and take off the gray box for now. We're going to just simply place this on top like so. And that's actually going to be quite all right. I think that's going to be okay. You might need to lower the grid down and just pull it out from the ground a little bit like so. And that's going to be okay. And this other roof can be just a plain one. So I'm going to go ahead and find a plain roof. So there you go. That's the one. I'm going to make sure I duplicate it and replace it with, actually that's too small of a roof. Let me just go ahead and try this one. Still too small. So I might be looking for a bit of a larger roof. I'm not sure. Or I'll keep the square one. I'll just expand this overall roof entirely. Just like that. I think that's going to be quite all right. I'm going to just push it in a little bit. And that looks quite okay. All right, so we got ourselves a nice top section. For this area, there's going to be a bit of more of a breaking down in regards to this look. It's going to not look quite structurally sound if we were to just keep this type of a building. It's meant to be more of a clay type of a setup, and there's no like steel beams back in the day or anything of the sort for the support. So what we're going to do is just we're going to support it using this arc section over here. We're just going to add that, but before doing that, we're going to just first of all, well, finish this section off. And so for that, we'll need to set ourselves up with a bell and what other things are needed. And actually, before doing that, it's best to just get some extra detail in these sections. So I'm just going to real quick check how these sections look like. And these have the square ones. These have, for example, different detail. So I'm just going to go ahead and do just that. I'm going to take off the gray box itself. Going to actually at this point going to simply ungroup the entire section since we are already adjusting it. So I'm going to click Shift G, and there we go. We got ourselves this entire section ungroup. So for this area, we're going to select all of these columns on the top. We're going to leave this one on the very top as this. Going to find these and replace them just like that. And then you can see how simple it is to replace all of them. Going to do pretty much the same thing on this section as well. Going to select them all except for the top one, that is, and then just click this button with this selected, and there we go. We got ourselves some nice variations on this end, and I might just do the same on this end as well, just like that. We got ourselves a really nice looking decorations. And as for the tower itself, if we were to look back at the reference, so this one over here, so we're going to see that we have some windows on the side, windows on the front. Let's go ahead and focus on them first. So it would make it look very nice. So the easiest way to do that is whether or not we firstly need to check whether or not we have windows in regards to this entire setup. And actually I already found a window for this section on the top. We're going to just simply replace this, but we need to ungroup it. I'm going to click Shift G to ungroup. I'm going to then replace this window like so, and actually need to rotate this around like that and putting it back in like so. Something like that. I think that looks quite nice. Might even remove this part actually over here. Yeah, there you go. This looks quite nice. Okay, I'm liking this. For this base, I need to also ungroup it. I need to set it up with the door so we can have ourselves a nicer look. And again, this needs to be rotated like so. And we might not even need this part over here. I'm going to go ahead and delete it. Maybe even bring this inwards like so. And there we go. I think that looks quite nice. I'm not sure about this though. I'm going to just bring it inwards a little bit like so. And I think, yeah, there you go. That looks quite nice. Okay, we can leave it as is. We got ourselves a very nice door. This is going to be the section for a quest. So that's going to be quite nice. And yeah, the rest, this section over here, well, we need some additional sections for this. So we're going to break up the wall a little bit. We're going to find ourselves this one over here. Support 4 meters. Let's go ahead and make use out of it. And there we go. We got ourselves a very nice type of an area. Actually, we can just bring it over, delete this one on the top, and just kind of replace it completely. I think that's going to be looking much nicer. There you go. The base door, we can go ahead and change that up a little bit. Something like this type of a door. Again, we need to rotate it around 180 degrees. And we got ourselves bit of an empty space, which I think I'll fix it actually with a duplicate out of this and finding ourselves just a simple base type of support. There you go. Go ahead and do that. And that's going to be easily fixing it, this section. So, all right. So this is looking quite nice. For this, for these areas, we're going to grab some windows. So these windows over here. And again, we need to rotate this entire section like so. And I think I'll check if we have other ones. There you go. That's the ones we're looking for. Going to look much nicer overall. So in regards to the windows, it's best not to just use a different variation all the time. It's best to have some consistency within the structures themselves. So for example, for the front, I'm only going to use this same type of windows. I might as well just actually delete this wall and just hold Alt and just duplicate it, simply because I know that by replacing it, I'd need to rotate it, and this would be faster to just do. So the other side, I want to ideally have this perhaps a bit of a different variation, but as you can see, this is not the front, this is like the other side as well. We could perhaps have this type of a window as well on this end over here, but I'm thinking of not having much windows on this area. The reason being is that we're going to have additional building over here, so just to kind of keep more of an extra variation, whilst at the same time not just have the same type of window, I will use this type of a window, so double window. It looks quite nice over here. At the very top, it will look more luxurious as well. We'll also just make sure that it looks better within this setup, like so. And there you go, that looks quite nice. I will probably need to lower down this a little bit, increase it. Actually, what I will do is I'll just make a duplicate out of this, and there we go. We got ourselves area fixed. And yeah, this looks like a nice starting point for the bell. I'm actually thinking that probably, yeah, for the top of the bell, we'll need to set it up real quick with some extra stuff. Looking for some props. So let me just go ahead and search for props, and that's not the right type. That's the one I'm looking for, clock sundial. I think that's going to look quite nice in this area. From a distance, it's going to be like a sort of a main focal point leading up to the bell. So that's going to be quite nice. It's a centerpiece of our city. So that's looking nice already. I'm actually just going to search for a roof over here and find ourselves a nice roof. The one that I'm thinking of using is going to be really dependent on the top of the bell. So instead of just creating the underneath roof first, I'll set up the bell. And the bell itself is going to need to wait actually. I'd rather leave it for a bit later. And instead what we can do is just quickly set these pieces up in the back. So we have like some windows and whatnot. And I might just use these same windows that we just had over here and maybe even replace them. So this entire thing is grouped up. I'm going to hit Shift and G and just simply replace it just like that. Again, it's rotated the wrong way, so I'm just going to go ahead and fix it like so, and we got ourselves some nice type of windows. Or alternatively, what we can do is, instead of just doing it like that, we also have some windows separately. So I'm going to go ahead and click Control Z actually and do it the other way. I'm going to just make use out of these windows over here. I think that'll give us some nice control. The downside of these windows is that they're not actually going inwards into the wall itself. They're just popping out like this, and as you can see, these windows over here, they're actually embedded into the wall itself. So that's the downside of just attaching windows like that. They're not always going to look quite right, but I think for this particular case it's going to be quite okay. In the back, I'd like to have like a balcony maybe, just to help us break it down. I'm planning to have a way of blocking the path over here, but for this particular case, I will also just duplicate this and put this entire section of a balcony in the back like so. I think that's going to look quite all right. Yep. It's going to just help to break up this alleyway a little bit, make it look very narrow and whatnot. And even if you're not able to access it, you should be able to like see a bit of a way of breaking up the walls. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it when it comes to that. We got ourselves a couple of variations over here and over here. We're also going to need to work on the entrance in the middle, which we're going to do in a bit. But the next step that's going to be waiting for us is going to be this bell at the very top. So that's going to be looking quite nice overall. So this bell over here. So yeah, we're going to make sure that we also set it up nicely. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll be